I'm not trying to hide it.
Woo!
No, he's talking about a
Hell
straight
yeah.
male. Like a straight person, like doing that.
Jordan!
Jordan Poole might be my favorite player in the league.
What?
I
Really?
love Jordan Poole so much.
It's a pool
Yeah.
party.
I think he's gonna have a big year. Oh my
I
god.
think Poole. I really
Whoa!
like oh my god.
Man, this season's gonna be fun. So if you've been paying any attention to the preseason so far, then you'll know that the Golden State Warriors are now 3-0, with some pretty convincing wins over the Portland Trail Blazers, the Denver Nuggets, and the LA Lakers. Three teams that are expected to give the Warriors a lot of problems in the West this season. And I know it's only preseason, but based on what I've seen, there's been a lot of improvement from last season to this season, with the moves that a lot of people thought wouldn't be enough, myself included. So with that being said, what exactly can we expect out of the Warriors this season? Well, today, we're going to be talking about the improvements the Warriors made in terms of personnel and adjustments they've made in games. We're going to talk about Klay Thompson, and we're going to answer the question, how far are they going this year? So let's get into the video. So real quick before this video starts, I know a lot of you guys watching this video are not subscribed, so if you fall into that category, please feel free to hit the sub button, it really helps out a lot, and also be sure to leave a like, that also helps out a lot. So at the time of this video, the Warriors have only played 3 preseason games, which isn't a lot of play time, but it's also not too early to see some of the changes that they've made in the offseason. Let's start with the shooting. This was a massive problem for Golden State last season, and it started with the struggles of Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins when they both opened the season shooting under 20% from 3, leaving Steph to do most of the heavy lifting in that category. And while Andrew Wiggins recovered from his terrible start, teams still weren't respecting his shot as much, because while he did end the season shooting 38% from 3 on 5 attempts, he was still pretty inconsistent, especially towards the end of the season. And Kelly Oubre never fully recovered from his awful shooting to start the season. He improved and had some good games, but like Wiggins, he wasn't consistent. And on top of that, he had possibly the worst shot selection of anybody on that roster last season.
He was the high scorer and the All-NBA player off of that.
Yeah, when the Warriors won the title in 2015, it was 40 years after that last championship won by...
I mean, come on. Come on, man. And so this offseason, the Warriors got rid of Kent Bazemore, Kelly Oubre, Eric Paschall, Nico Mannion, and Alen Smailagic, which I gotta say, it took them long enough to get rid of this. Why did it take so long? I don't get it. But they got rid of those pieces, and in return they signed Otto Porter, Nemanja Bjelica, Avery Bradley, and Andre Iguodala. So let's go through all of those individually, starting with Otto Porter. Now, so far in the preseason, I'm liking what I see from him. He's been a knockdown shooter, a good defender, and a decent playmaker and passer, and that's really gonna be good for Golden State throughout the season because apart from defense, those are really the areas that the Warriors struggled with last season, was shooting and playmaking, with Steph Curry really being the only reliable option for either of those two, and Draymond really only being reliable for the playmaking part. Obviously, he's one of the best defenders in the league, but that's not what we struggled with last season. So that's going to be really good for them, especially considering that the Warriors pretty much stole him and signed him for a minimum deal. And his shooting isn't even the best shooting that they picked up this offseason, because the Warriors also picked up Nemanja Bjelica, a signing that I liked from day one, because he is a 6'10" sniper. He shoots 39% from 3 in his career, but he doesn't really excel at anything outside of shooting, so he's been a bench player for a lot of his career outside of his seasons with Sacramento. And these threes aren't just on the line. We've already seen him pulling from 30 in a few preseason games so far. So there's another shooting option the Warriors can go to, although it is clear that that will be his main job, is just knocking down threes. But another player that will have multiple roles on the Warriors is another guy I'm happy we picked up, Avery Bradley, who for nearly his entire career has been known as a great reliable 3-and-D player. His 3-point percentage sits just above 36% for his career, and he's always been more than capable of giving some of the best offensive guards in the league problems with his defense. So that will be a really good pickup, and I expect that to work out much better than the Kelly Oubre or Kent Bazemore signings we experimented with last season. But now we move on to our good old friend.
Of everyone on Golden State, open shot, fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, you better hit it. I want Iguodala. Iguodala's got ice water in his veins.
Now, Andre, let's just face it, he's not going to be the same player that he was during the dynasty, but even at his age of 37, he can still provide at least a serviceable role for the team, given that he knows the system and he knows how to play with some of these guys already, guys like Steph, Clay, Draymond, Damian Lee, and Jordan Bell, but I still see his role on this team being more of a mentor type of player, helping out some of the younger guys, especially on the defensive end, because as we know, Andre was a great defender that's been credited with slowing down LeBron James in the finals a few times, and he had some of the best hands in the league with an amazing ability to strip the ball on the way up, like one that I've never seen with my own two eyes before. So that's really what I can see him providing for the team, like other than just being a serviceable player. Speaking of which, some of the new additions this offseason included our 2 draft picks, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, who, thanks to Kenny, or King of the Fourth Quarter, has now earned the nickname the Bucket.
They drafted the bucket? That's crazy, bro. What y'all feeling about that? And number 7, Jonathan Kuminga? Wait, what? That wasn't his nickname?
But so far this preseason, we haven't really seen that much playtime from them, so it's difficult to say exactly what their impact on the team is going to be when the season actually starts, but Kuminga was known as a great scorer in the G League, and the Warriors expect him to become a more versatile defender in the NBA, and Moses Moody was mainly drafted because of his defensive ability in college, so either way, these are great picks that fit with this roster, and it just sucks that we haven't been able to see more playing time from them so far this season. And Chris Chiozza, aka Steph Curry with tattoos. This was another decent pickup, a small but pass first type of player to help run the offense of the second unit, but as far as new roster additions, that's about it. So now let's talk about some of the changes to the team and the play style. We'll start with my man, Michael Jordan Poole, who I honestly think if he keeps playing like this in the actual season, he will run away with most improved player, and I don't even think it'll be close. Because this dude went from last season averaging 12 points off the bench, struggling to even stay in the rotation at times, to now dropping 30 points in 3 quarters in 2 out of the 3 postseason games so far. Now, I know that it's preseason, but you can just tell that all the work that he's been putting in is finally going to pay off this season. He's been much better at creating his own shot off the dribble, he's a much better finisher, and most importantly, and most noticeably, he looks way more confident whenever he's on the floor. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen this man in the past 2 years pass up shots or hesitate because he wasn't confident. That doesn't look to be a problem anymore, at all. He's going to be a dangerous second option for Golden State this season until Klay Thompson comes back, and I think that he is now more than ready to accept that role. Speaking of Klay Thompson, he is still working on returning from his torn Achilles that he suffered last November. He's been doing drills, but not 5-on-5, so he's still a little ways out. Golden State has his return date being sometime in December or early January, so we also have that to look forward to. Now, the James Wiseman situation is extremely confusing because I could have sworn they had him expected to return for training camp, but obviously that hasn't been the case. However, in an update last month, they explained that he is making good progress, and they are targeting a return soon after the start of the season. It is also worth noting that in a presser, Steve Kerr had this to say about James Wiseman. He's doing really well. I think James is really kind of coming out of his shell. You can really see the maturity. He's speaking up in meetings, feels much more confident, I can see it. And then the drill work he's been doing, he's really picking things up quickly. He showed glimpses right away of being a player who can step out and shoot threes, and get to the rim and handle the ball. Now it's a matter of putting all that stuff together, which takes time. So that looks to be a great improvement from last season. But will all of this work? Well, one of the main takeaways from the preseason games so far is that Steph is no longer facing the otherworldly defenses that teams were playing on him last year. They are still trapping him on certain plays, but it's nowhere near what it was. So that means he won't have to work nearly as hard to get the shots up, which is important because he's getting older. He's turning 34 years old this year. Old man. And I know that he was 33 last season and he did what he did, but that's not something that you want him doing at this stage of his career. So anything to avoid that would be great. And come on, you guys know how stressful last season was. You don't want to see him go through that again. And it does look like the Warriors are on track so far with the added shooting and now the scoring ability of Jordan Poole, which teams now need to pay a lot more attention to. Speaking of which, Draymond Green has been more comfortable shooting contested threes in preseason. No hesitation, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, I understand Draymond's gravity is not going to be anywhere near that of a player like Jordan Poole or Otto Porter, but it is going to keep the defense honest and actually make them play up on him to an extent instead of just leaving him wide open like the last few seasons, and especially last year. So that's the new look of the Golden State Warriors. Now, I have no idea what the win total is going to look like, but I can tell you we're winning 50 games. But with all that being said, I want to know what you guys think of this year's Warriors. Do you think they did enough in the offseason, or do you think they should have tried to pick up more pieces? And how good do you think Golden State will be this season? Let me know what you think. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.